Joining us now for more is NDP MP Charlie Angus with his reaction today. First of all, Charlie, thank you so much for taking the time today. I wanted to get your thoughts and your reaction to this news.
Well, it is a very sad day. My phone's been ringing nonstop. Ed was a great Canadian, number one. He believed in this country. He believed in its potential. He believed people could do better, and he believed government could play a role in making life better. And he never, ever wavered from that. And I think for me, what I loved most about Ed was he was a mentor to people like me when I was coming up, and to so many others, and a very sly sense of humor always with people.
You know, we're just looking at an image of both of you together. You're speaking to him, you're gesticulating, you're talking about his sly humor. Talk to us a little bit more about what he was like. So many people across the country knew him as a politician, but what was it like to work with him?
Well, Ed, I met Ed when I was 18 years old. I was a punk rock dishwasher. I didn't even vote. And I couldn't believe he came into the restaurant. I ran over and I shook his hand and I told him how much his work mattered. And years later, I got to sit beside him in Parliament. And I'd often mention that story to him. And Ed was an intellectual. He didn't act like an egghead. He was an intellectual who really understood social democracy, economics. And he used to always tease me. He'd say that I was way too much of an academic for him, which anybody who knows how I do politics knows I'm the anti-academic. But Ed knew the streets well. He knew working class people well, but he had a bigger, broader vision, and he really made you part of that vision and made you believe you could make this country what it really should be.
Talk to us a little bit more about that and the kind of lessons he imparted on you.
I remember sitting, like it was my first week in the House, and we were facing a non-confidence vote, and I'd just been elected by 600 votes. I was terrified. Am I going to go back? Is this my defeat? And Ed was like, relax. And Ed knew when to throw the fire, and he could really throw the fire with the best of them, and he also knew when to negotiate. But the thing that always blew me away about Ed was, over the years, I would get a call about every 6 months, and it would be from Ed. And it would be like getting a call from the headmaster. He wanted to know what was going on, what was happening with policy, what the caucus was doing. And Ed paid very, very close attention to Canadian politics right up to the end. So whenever I got a call from Ed, it's like, you can't make things up with Ed. You have to tell him the whole truth. He expected nothing less, and that's why he called. He wanted to know what was going on, and then he would offer, if I was willing, suggestions. And I thought that was amazing. He had been thinking about what was happening in the country, and he wanted to participate, and he participated right up to the end through, like, he started the Broadbent Institute, which has helped such a great conversation. He continued right up to the end to be engaged.
He is somebody who is nationally recognized as well. He was a companion of the Order of Canada. I want to ask you, when it comes to his influence on our country, what kind of fingerprints does he leave behind?
Well, Ed really had a vision that we are a good democratic nation doesn't leave people behind. His fight for Indigenous rights, his fight against poverty, his fight for worker rights. He really framed this conversation that the nation had to look after its people. He did that really well. And he was known nationally, but he was known internationally. I mean, I was in Berlin last year, and we were meeting, we went to visit the Willy Brandt house. Willy Brandt, who was one of the great founders of the International Socialists, of trying to make a European model. And they knew Ed Broadbent. Ed Broadbent had been really involved at the international level on trying to have a broad-based approach to economic inequity, to climate, to fairness. And so he brought an international view to Canadian politics, which I sometimes think we don't really understand our role in the bigger world, but Ed never let us lose sight of that.
Charlie, just one final question here. What's something about Ed that you think most people don't know?
Again, Ed was really, really funny. I would say that Ed is with the angels. I know he is, but he'd probably get pissed off if I said that because he always told me he was a druid, and he said that he was a devout and practicing druid. So I don't know if druids have angels, but Ed's one of them.
Charlie Angus, NDP MP, joining us today on the passing of Ed Broadbent, remembering him today with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.